Hi, I'm Melody Nurvasani, and today I'm here with.
Brendan Kafer.
Hey, my name's Owen Lomaton.
And today we're going to be talking about immigration here in Montgomery County and beyond. So I found a really interesting article from Montgomery History. This was a study done by the anthropology department of Montgomery College. And according to this article, it explores more than 200 years of immigration history within this county. In 1850, less than 2% of Montgomery County's population was foreign-born. And then in 1960, it was around 5%. Now, 35% of this county's citizens are foreign-born. Most of them come from Ukraine, Latvia, El Salvador, India, Palestine, China, the Democratic Republic of Congo, Mexico, and many more. I am a Montgomery County resident, and my family is originally from Iran. So I think they kind of missed out one of them, because I know a lot of Iranians who live in this area or in D.C. and Arlington. But yeah, what's your guys' hearing that statistic? What's your guys' take on it?
Man, it's definitely true. I mean, I have a lot of friends who are born either first generation American or second generation American. I think it's a really cool thing. I mean, it's cool to live in a diverse place like Montgomery County.
Yeah, I would say I think it's really cool that I mean I have a lot of friends who are of different races and backgrounds, which just helps with my perspective, I guess. And I also go to Penn State for college, and it's a really diverse school because lots of kids and there's so many different backgrounds there. So I think it helps me have a different perspective on how to approach my life. And
Yeah, I think Montgomery County, specifically being one of the most diverse counties in this state and probably in the United States, is kind of an experience when it comes to talking about immigration. Although we're not really a border state of being from Maryland, we kind of understand what immigration may entail and how it, affects our, commerce, or how, our economy has grown over time. And it also kind of, solidifies our county's culture, because I feel like we really, emphasize our diversity more than anything. And there are a lot of little enclaves in this county, like cultural enclaves, specifically like around maybe Germantown, Gaithersburg, Darnestown. There's a huge like Iranian side to that area, and there's a bunch of like Iranian markets and restaurants, and I think there was Iranian, and Caucasian. There was going to be an Armenian youth center in Darnestown, but they just completely abandoned the project.
Oh.
So that's just my experience. I think like on the outskirts of Potomac, there is a huge Buddhist like enclave, because there's a Buddhist temple like right near the Potomac. And I usually go there because they have like a really cute farm, and I usually see them go to like my Harris Teeter nearby to get food for their temple, and for the people who work there. I think they're called monks. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's really interesting how, as a county, we just see like all different peoples from all walks of life.
I think for me, for me, I most of the people I grew up around were not like me in terms of their background and like what they look like, which is cool. But I think it's frustrating for me. I went to Blake High School, and it was frustrating when I saw people who would intentionally not interact with other people from different backgrounds. And I mean, you can see that, and I think I think some places in the county, now granted there are a lot of people who are open to different backgrounds, but I think the the meaning of that phrase is different depending on who you ask. And I think some people are open to discussions, but I don't think near enough people are open to have a discussion with somebody who doesn't look like them, who doesn't have the same background as them, might maybe from a whole different country. And I think, to me, that's something that I really hope that this county gets better at.
Well, I would say, yeah. I mean, I think it's a really cool idea to have lots of different cultural, diverse places in the county. Like, I went to Wheaton High School, and I think I would say it's one of the more, like, openly diverse schools and high schools in the county. Because in almost all of my classes throughout my high school years, I would have like all my classes would have different people with different backgrounds, which I thought would help me help me learn better. I think because when we have like group discussions, I would be able to hear different people's thoughts on different issues, which I thought was really helpful for me. And I feel like to your point, you said like people aren't really open about talking about. I mean, yeah, I did see a couple of times throughout high school where I would see different groups of people like avoid like talking about racial issues because it made them feel uncomfortable. And I think when teachers were really good at making sure people weren't afraid to talk about like race and be inclusive, and I think that was really good.
I just want to ask, like, what years did you guys graduate in for high school?
That was 2023.
2023?
Yeah.
2021.
Okay, so I graduated during COVID, and I feel old now. So I do think that, especially 2023, yeah, that definitely might be an issue when it came to Montgomery County, because around that time, a bunch of parents of like different, ethnic backgrounds and religious backgrounds came to Montgomery County's Board of Education and said, well, I don't want, my kids to learn about, different cultures. And it was mostly about like LGBTQ themes.
Yeah.
And they sued the county, which they lost both times. And I did a investigation with the Maryland education plan to see if there was any connections between like parents' angers towards this kind of curriculum with the current education plan that Governor Moore is currently rolling out. And we couldn't find anything, but I think I got very offended because I spoke with the attorney who was a senior counsel at Beckett Law Firm. His name was Eric Baxter. Beckett is a right-winged religious rights law group, and I don't think he's from Maryland. I don't think he's from Montgomery County. I understand, parents have the right to basically watch out for their kids. But my issue was that when he started talking about this sort of, hateful, inclusive education, I don't think he kind of understood the spirit of Montgomery County, which is inclusivity is our culture. We are technically a very, very diverse county, and we pride ourselves from being a very diverse county. So this hateful inclusivity just sounds kind of, made up, and you're just right now talking about different, propagandized content.
Yeah, I mean, it's really weird to me the way people will say stuff like, oh, I don't want my kids learning about stuff like maybe CRT or critical race theory or issues about LGBTQ, and it's like, well, what do you want your kids to learn about? Because it's like, I mean, I think there are things in our history as a country and in terms of the world that happen, and just because you don't want to talk about them doesn't mean that we shouldn't talk about it. I mean, history is history, and I also think that people will use the term, maybe they don't anymore, but people used to use the words facts don't care about your feelings. But I think the people who say those things, they're swayed by their emotions, and they talk about certain facts depending on what they feel at certain points of time. And I think that's something that really, really upsets me. And I think as a community, we aren't kind enough to the LGBT community. Now, granted, we are in Montgomery County, and Montgomery County is pretty good to them, but not near what it should be. And the same with people who are immigrants. Same with people who, are minorities in this county. And it's, yeah, I mean, I think we have a lot more to do in my view.
Yeah, I definitely feel that. And I kind of want to go off of, just school-wise. I went to Darnestown Elementary, and they now have like a principal who is South Asian. Before that, the way that they treated students of color were horrific. And I think it took a long time for my mom to realize that the reason why I was not heard or seen in Darnestown was because there was no teachers like me. There was no teachers who may feel like, okay, maybe the reason why she's being bullied isn't because of her personality. It could be she's being targeted because, she's the only student in the class with like tan skin, or, she's a lot, compared to many students, darker in complexion. Mind you, Darnestown was had a huge white population. So this was like one of the least diverse parts. You're starting to get more into like rural Poolsville, Damascus area. Not that much diversity, unlike, here in Silver Spring or in Rockville or in Bethesda. But, it was such a interesting like moment for my mom to kind of realize that, like, the reason why she was bullied. And my friend too, who's currently a master's student in DC, she was bullied relentlessly from kindergarten to 12th grade. She is neurodivergent, she is South Asian, she has astigmatism, which leaves her with a cross-eyed, and like it really was so relentless that even the school had no clue what to do. And I think that's also an issue when it comes to like a lot of like kids who grew up from like immigrant families or maybe are not white, is that a lot of schools don't know how to relate to them. And that is why I think diversity in like schools should be like highlighted, because especially in this county, because there are a bunch of like students that come from different backgrounds, and they need to have like teachers who understand their plight. It doesn't even have to be like an Iranian teacher. It could be a teacher who's like Black or Asian, or even like, part of the LGBTQ community, who knows what it feels to be ostracized by your peers who are technically, seen as more conforming to that part of Montgomery County society.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because I went to Fallsmead Elementary School, and I don't remember it too much because I was a lot younger. But I did have my kindergarten year in first grade. I did have like an African American principal, and I feel like that was good for. I mean, I was in kindergarten, so I didn't really understand like how race and background stuff really affected people yet, because I was really young. But then as I got older, I got to understand how that sort of thing affects people in their personal lives. And so that.
I mean, I feel like we use the word diversity a lot, but I mean, you can look at the demographics of certain schools and be like, okay, that school is diverse. But when you look at how people inside the school interact, and maybe that's not the case now, but I remember it was a big problem I had where at my school, I would see certain people hang out with certain people from, I guess, and no disrespect to people from that area, but people from the Olney area hang out with each other, and then it was like everybody else would not hang out with them, because it felt like the people from Olney that I knew, not all, but some people that I knew from over there would kind of be not as inclusive as they should have been. So I think, yeah, I mean, because when I was in high school, I would look around the cafeteria and I'd be like, I am the only white person in here. Like that is crazy that no other person who looks like me wants to get to know people who don't look like them. And maybe that's not fully the case, but like nobody else like has the ability to try to, like, I guess, learn about somebody else that's from a different background. I don't know. It was just really weird to me. Like, like seeing that on a daily basis was really, really confusing to me.
Yeah, that, and I understand. It also kind of happened back at Lakelands, but yeah, that's a story for another time. And I hope you all enjoyed this conversation, and thank you for listening. Lakelands, but yeah, that's that's a story for another time. And I hope you all enjoy this conversation. And